everybody, it's Emily at Arrrgh Schooling, and I'm here today with Tanya, and it is time to talk about Half-Life by Jillian Cantor. And I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. This is, I think, the third book I've read by this author. So, what did you think?
First book by her. I liked it. I listened to it. This is one I didn't
too.
read at all. Yeah. So I also finished it this morning. So I'm very fresh on it. I liked it a lot. I liked it. It was different than I thought it was going to be, weirdly, because I thought it was going to be more of a split between, like what happens when you choose your career and what happens when like that opportunity is like taken from you. I didn't know that much about her family's history at all and how scientific the entire family ended up being. But I thought it was really moving how like she really talks about not so much the split between like choosing work or choosing family, but like how who you are really does come through regardless of what path you take. Like that your underlying self kind of rises to the surface, which I liked a lot. I wouldn't say that it was a 5-star for me, but I think it's definitely like a 4 and a quarter, 4.5 star, because I found it much more engaging than I thought I would. There was moments at the beginning where I was a little concerned. It was like, I am not invested in one of these stories. Like, I'm very interested in learning more details about her actual life, but I'm not so invested in the sliding door life. But then it started to get more interesting. So I don't know. I found it like it was interesting to see what choices she made throughout, and seeing the same characters and how her different choice changed their lives also.
Yeah, I found that really interesting. Yeah.
So.
I gave it 5 stars, but my 5 is like a 4.5, 4 and 3/4. Like it was like right around a 5, but I rounded up. But I found it a little bit confusing in the beginning, just because I kept like, wait, which one am I listening to?
Right. When you're listening, it's a little hard.
I had to keep going back to the book and like checking. I'm like, okay, wait, no, okay. But like once the story got going a little bit, I found it a little bit less confusing. And I was really intrigued by this premise, because the idea of the path not taken and like what would it have looked like if you had taken it? Like how much of a change would that bring about overall? What would your life look like if you had gone that direction? So I thought it was really a unique premise, and that we're bouncing between both.
Yeah.
And, you get to see what really happened, and then like, this is what might have happened.
Yeah.
And the way that just sort of adjusted everybody else's life around her. And I also was really intrigued by the idea of like what the support of a husband can change. Like,
like the most important choice in your life is your spouse. Like I think that is true in so many ways. Like whether you get married or don't, and then if you do, who do you marry, and how do they support you, and how do they prioritize like your dreams and their own? Like how do those stack up? Because it is that tension, right? Like how does a life unfold?
Yeah. And I felt like that was such a big piece in her story. Like Pierre was so behind her every minute of her career, and like guiding and helping, and like being with him is what made her as successful as she was, because that was just such a big change. I thought, like,
even I always think of, I mean, the one thing I did know about the story is that whole, with the Nobel Prize being like offered to him first, and him being like, no thanks, not my wife, just at that time period to have someone, especially someone in science, just stand behind you in that way and just be like, no, like the most prestigious scientific award in the world, but not without her. That one act, right? Like sort of shows you like how supportive of her he was. I mean,
yeah.
And not a soft way, in a very, very hard line type of way.
Definitely. And I don't know. I love reading about women in science, especially in like this time period when it was just like such a rocky road for them. And seeing him be so supportive and like fighting for her was great. I love that.
I also love how books about scientists in this period, that whole turn of the century, like period where like you really started to develop technologies where science could advance at this rapid pace. All of these scientists in interdisciplines, like they had such an interdisciplinary relationship. Like the papers that were put out weren't for publish or perish. They were like real papers, you know, so like every paper that was put out was like a real like advancement. It wasn't just to keep your job or any of these things. It was like you were the preeminent physicist putting out that paper, like with like the new stuff, you know. It wasn't just somebody, because I know like a lot of friends in academia now, like I mean, there are very important papers that come out, but there are a lot of papers that aren't, you know, because you have to put out a paper. Like you have to put out this many papers. You have to do this many things. I know a lot of like research assistants and stuff who have to put out, you know, projects and posters that nobody cares about. I mean, it's like you have to do one, so let's just do this thing, you know? Like my brother did one this year. And he was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. So like I feel like at that time where everyone was talking to each other and there was all this like the speed with which, you know, the discovery of radium and like its extension into medicine happened blows my mind. Like it was like they were like everyone was reading all the things, and I love that. I love the whole idea of that, you know, like in the scientific world, literary world, all of this, where they would come together and like hang out and like learn from each other.
It's definitely a different world entirely. And I like too that I had just read Radium Girls last year, so that's still fresh in my mind. So I was like thinking about that while I was reading this. I love when my reading builds on each other.
I thought it was interesting too how like she even in this like sliding door version of her life where she doesn't go to Paris, like, you know, Pierre shows up in her life. And
I loved that they were still kind of in love, and like they were gonna come together no matter what, whatever the circumstances are.
That's an interesting concept. It really is. I think about that a lot. Like, you know, I think anybody who reads a lot thinks about like, you know, how are we connected in the world? Like, is it just about the choices, or are there these repeated opportunities for connection, you know?
I'm a big fan too of like multiverse kind of stories and like parallel universes, and like every choice you make is a different
happening.
And I just find that so fascinating, and it made me think like, okay, if I had done this instead of this, like what might have happened? Like what would my life look like?
I think anyone who's like, you know, gotten to their 40s, you know, has had those moments, right? Like those real shifts where like life took you in this direction or this direction. And it was a very clear like fork in the road. So the forks in the road are very interesting to think about. I learned a lot about all of these people because I thought it was so interesting to look everybody up to see what they were really doing. And I also thought it was interesting that you're talking about a person who's coming from not like a incredibly, you know, elevated position or elevated rank or anything like that in society. And all her love interests were like remarkably talented scientists and mathematicians. It's so interesting. It's like a novel of a life. Like it's, you know, apparently. So did you look up Paul by any chance?
I didn't. No.
He invented like sonar location for submarines.
Really?
So all of So I was like, okay.
Like this is the first book I've ever read about Marie Curie that was like a novel. I read, what is it called? I want to say Radioactive. It's like it's not exactly a graphic novel, but like an illustrated novel that I had at level 8. And I really liked that. I thought that was a really great like introduction to her life and her love story with Pierre and all of that. And then I've read like younger books about her, like for younger children. This is the first time I've read like a novel about her, and I want more. I think she's an interesting person. She had such an interesting life.
There's a letter that Albert Einstein wrote her during the time of her affair with Paul and when the press was hounding her that I love. It's just like it's like a letter from a friend to be like, you know, like, let it slide. Like, it's okay. They don't understand. Like, it's fine. You are who you are. And I was like, that's so great. So it's amazing to think of the things that they did. Like science-based, I'm always amazed to think of how much they accomplished in such short periods of time with such like poor equipment and conditions.
And digging through the bins of silt and dirt in a shed, looking through it. And I just like can't imagine
and isolating
like
a new element. Yeah, it's just, it's incredible.
I like too the stuff in the book, like when we're in her parallel world and Pierre is trying to do this project and he can't do it by himself, and he's just like, well, I guess I'll let it go. And I'm like, that's wild that like neither of them could do it on their own.
Yeah
it's
definitely a dual thing. I think that matters, right? Like if you're working at something, to have someone in the room with you, like even just having someone on the same page, like on the same journey,
being able to bounce ideas off of somebody.
Or like Frodo and Sam, like you need someone to like, you know, carry you sometimes, like just to sit with you.
Where was her Sam? I like that.
It was because I mean, that's incredible. Is she still the only person to have received Nobel Prizes in 2 different fields of science?
I'm not sure if she is still the only one. Maybe? I'd have to look that up.
And that was also crazy, like that her daughter and her husband got a Nobel Prize. And
I was always impressed that she ended up getting her daughter
into it. And then her other daughter's husband won the Nobel Peace Prize. I was like, okay, we're talking about real overachieving here.
I have to imagine too that she's just such an inspiring person to be around that it just like rubs off on you if you're around her.
I agree.
Like she's
and all
so
things
passionate.
seem possible.
Like I love the stuff about the floating school, and even when she couldn't be the scientist that she should have become, she was still able to like do things with it and teach other people and work on different research projects and stuff. So I thought all of that was just so interesting. Like no matter what, if you are passionate about something, no matter what direction your life goes, that passion is still going to be there. It may not be able to grow to the extent that it could in different scenarios, but I thought that was a really interesting part of the story.
That'll come out. I also thought it was interesting, the tension for her with her daughters and like what they would pursue, and how there was a little bit of it when she was not the Marie Curie we all know, you know, and the Nobel Prize winning scientist, but much less so, right? There's much more openness to like, okay, like her daughter is going to pursue music now, like, you know, because I think it was more important to that she got to pursue what her daughter was interested in rather than science.
I noticed that too, that like as long as she had the ability to do what she loved, that's all that mattered. Instead of like, no, but it needs to be science.
So, and then I thought it was interesting too that their real life daughter that pursued piano lived to be 102, unlike both Irene and her mother, right? Because of the radioactivity exposure. So
I thought it was interesting how in denial she was that it had to do with the radium. That like maybe this is what's making you sick. No, it's not. It's science. It can't make me sick. Like,
and her sister, her older sister, being like, even from the beginning, being like, you know, you should watch yourself around all of the radium. And she's like, ugh. I could totally see that happening with an older sister being like, please stop telling me what to do.
So,
but there was going to be no stopping her with that, I guess.
I'm always fascinated with like the idea of scientists being so dedicated that they like basically make themselves sick or kill themselves over their work because like they have to do the work. So, yeah.
There would have been no way around it for her, right? I mean, and that was something I looked up too. And apparently they said that like oncologists think now that it was really her exposure to the little Curies, the machines during World War One, and the radiographs that would probably have accelerated, cancer in her. Not so much the original experiments that she did with like Pierre and like in her little lab and stuff like that, because the amounts were so small then.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because she was talking like grams. She had a gram of radium.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm trying to think to myself like how small of an amount is a gram? Like I can't visualize a gram. But yeah.
A paperclip is a gram. So
oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay.
So, but yeah, that's a lot. No, I mean, I also didn't know about like her like passion for Poland. I didn't know that polonium was named for Poland.
I didn't either. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't make that connection ever.
Yeah, I know, me too. I was like, at no point did that occur to me, but that was neat. No, she is interesting in the sense that, I think, I can't remember where I saw it, but apparently somebody said like in France, they always honored her whenever she got an international award, like the Nobel. They were like, oh, look, she's our French scientist. And then whenever there was any opportunity for advancement in France, like in the university or anything like that, they were like, she's just a Polish, like, adulterer. So, that tracks.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense that they would be like that. Yeah.
And apparently, I did a little deep dive in her. Apparently, like the Louis Pasteur Institute at some point was like, we just want to hire you away from the University of Paris. And that was the impetus for them being like, okay, fine, we'll like give you an actual professorship and like chair seat and all of this. And then they couldn't afford to build her the lab. So the Louis Pasteur Institute and University of Paris did it together for her. So that they would both get, credit from her research or whatever. But I mean, that all is moving into modern era science and how that works for funding. So she was an extraordinary person, though.
No, she was. I definitely want to read more about her and dig deeper into her life, because this definitely got me thinking about her life and what she accomplished.
The leg spasms. I didn't look into what went on with Pierre in terms of his health. I had assumed that maybe it was like some sort of radium related thing, but
same.
I don't know. I mean, it's also possible it could be something else entirely, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I have like a list of questions I found. I'm just like scrolling through to see if there's anything we haven't talked about that would make an interesting topic of discussion.
Towards the end, I was listening to it on 2.0, which I very rarely do, because I'm on more like 1.5, 1.75%. And everyone was like, what are you doing? I have like 2 hours left. So I was doing laundry this morning. I was like, but then
I think I listened to like 2.3, 2.4, somewhere in there, because
that's incredible. I don't know.
Not every book. There are books that I can't speed up because like the accent or just their voice.
But this one especially.
But with the accents, I was like, okay, wait, I have to slow it back down, because I usually
was flipping the
2 and then go to 2.5.
Yeah.
But
you're also switching between Marie's, and there wasn't like a clear distinction sometimes.
There wasn't,
the
and
one
that's
chapter
what made it confusing.
Yes.
I kept going, wait a second, wait, which one are we reading here? Who am I listening to?
And I feel like she did that artfully though.
It was like just barely a more French accent when it was Marie and a more Polish accent, but it's too similar.
Yeah. Especially if people stopped calling her Maria. Like that would ground me a little bit, but whenever they would stop addressing her by her name, like it was very confusing. I was like, who are we? Where are we? What? And then when one of them would be in Paris too, like the other one, I was like, I don't know what's happening. Or when she was talking to Pierre, I was like, which Pierre are we? Is Pierre dead? No. Like Pierre's alive. So this is the other Marie. But
I don't think it's a superpower. I think
I agree.
I think I just can't pay attention if it's slower. Like I need it to be fast to keep my brain focused on it.
Tests.
I know everyone's like, what are you doing? Anytime I have my audiobook playing and I'm not wearing my earbuds, it's like, what is that? How do you understand it? Like I do
feel like you adjust though. Like I will, I mean, give it like 10 minutes and suddenly your brain's like on board.
Yeah, I think too, like it helps that I build. Like I usually start at 2 and then go up. I think if I started at 2.5, I don't know that I could do it, but now I'll have to try it and just see.
This is my first year with Arrrgh, and so like I didn't realize Arrrgh keeps your speed across different books. So I'll be listening to like one audiobook at like, 1.8 or whatever, and then I'll switch to like I carpool, I take some of my kids' friends to fencing lessons and stuff, and I'll start their book because I force everybody to read audiobooks and it'll be at like 1.8 and they'll be like, what is happening right now?
I listen to audiobooks with Regina, and I usually started at 1.5 and then we slowly crank up, and she can't go beyond 2, which is fine, but I am like itching because I'm like, this is too slow.
It's crazy. It's just
I struggle to focus on it. Like I can't pay attention if it's any slower. Like if I accidentally turn it to like 1, it sounds like so ridiculously slow. I'm like, who can listen to this?
I will say almost any book at 1 sounds too slow for me.
Yeah.
It's like on the boulevard in Paris.
I'm like, oh my God, it's so slow. Like speed it up.
Yeah. Nobody talks that slow though.
No.
So. Also, if you listen to books on 1, like you can't possibly get through very many audiobooks.
No.
I mean, it's a lot of hours on 1. Like everything.
Oh my gosh.
Everything.
What was it? Like, I think it was Bloodmarked. I was like, it's a 22-hour audiobook. That's insane. Like, when I crank it up, it'll be like more like 10 hours.
Exactly. That's doable. So. Yeah, if anybody's looking to increase their speed, though, I will say the best way to do it is little by little.
Yeah.
Like give yourself, 1.2 and then 1.4 and then 1.5 or whatever. And just listen to a couple hours.
I find too that like middle grade books, I can crank to 3 and have no problem understanding it. I don't know why, but middle grade is always easier to listen to really fast.
Yeah.
But it depends too on like the narrator.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, Stephen King. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm listening to with the girls on the way to fencing is The Eyes of the Dragon, which I love that book so much. Yeah.
That's on my list to read this year, and I keep putting it off because I'm kind of scared I won't like it.
I think you'll like it. I love that book. I think it's it's similar to short stories in his prose for that one, but it was longer than I expected. Like I don't know. Like in my head, it always feels like it's shorter, so it goes well. Like it flows really easily. Because I recently saw it on my shelf and I was like, I did not remember this book being this long. So
yeah, that's one I've had for forever, but I've never read it because I don't like the Dark Tower series. And I'm like, is this going to be like that?
I haven't read Dark Tower series, so I don't know.
I hate it. I read Gunslinger like 3 times in like a 2-year span because I was trying to get into the story, and I hate that book. And then I was like, let's just move on. And then I read the next book. hated that one too. And I'm like, should I start book 3? And I started that and DNF'd it. And I was like, never mind. I can't do this.
Yeah, you're done. Yeah.
Yeah. And it bugs me because everyone's like, it's his magnum opus. I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah, I haven't read it, so I don't know. I mean, his books are hit or miss, though. They really are. And I do think sometimes he loses interest as he's writing it, and then it like sort of meanders into nowhere.
Yeah. Like The Cell. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
I mean, I thought that about Fairy Tale too. Like, I was like, this is a great premise, and then it kind of like went into nothing. So, but The Eyes of the Dragon are not like that. It's very contained. Stays on point. So, it's like an old-fashioned fairy tale almost.
That's what I've heard, that it's more like almost a children's book, and I'm like, interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know this.
Yeah. It's definitely like middle grade. Like if you wanted to make it middle grade. I mean, there's some inappropriate bits, but like, you know, it's Stephen King. Like, what are you gonna do?
It's what I would expect.
Yeah.
Oh, The Stand. Yeah. That's also on my list to reread this year. Now I'm like, what was I thinking? I don't have time for that. But there's that short story collection coming out this summer that is like an ode to The Stand. I'm like, well, I should reread The Stand before I read that. But
maybe we should make that for like the third quarter book. I'd like to reread The Stand. I haven't read it since like, I don't know, decades ago.
Yeah, I was like trying to think, when was the last time I read it? And I think I was in my 20s. So it's definitely time
for sure
to reread it. That's for sure going to be an audiobook, because there's no way I can do that. I've like lost my ability to read with my eyes only. Like, I am so distractible now that I just can't do it. Every time I try, I like sit there with the book, set it down, pick it back up, set it down, and then it's like an hour has passed and I've read 2 paragraphs, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? I don't know.
It's time. Maybe you reach a saturation point with I words.
I don't know.
I'm trying though. I'm trying. There's so many.
Perimenopause has broken me completely.
Yeah, I hear you on that for sure. So that is what it is. I blame my husband because he has to go to sleep so early and the light bothers him. And there's only so long I can read under the covers.
Weirdly, I can read ebooks on my Kindle at night and have no problem. I can focus on that. But if it's during the day, I struggle more with it. But at night, in the dark, I guess there's nothing else to do. There's nothing that can distract me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, wow. Okay. I love it. I've read that probably a dozen times.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite Stephen King. But I read 11/22/63 last year.
I haven't read that one.
Oh, it was really good. I think I wish that I hadn't seen the miniseries first.
I haven't seen it, so
because we watched that because when it was on TV and my husband wanted to watch it, and I was like, oh, but I haven't read the book yet. He's like, we don't have time. He's like, can we just watch it? I was like, fine, whatever, it's fine. I'll get to it eventually. And
I'll breathe through this.
He's like, how big is the book? And I'm like, like, it's a big one. So we watched it, and
small footstool.
I read it like 2 years later is when I got to the book, and I feel like it was so similar that I was just visualizing this series that I'd watched. Yeah. So like I kind of wished I had done it opposite, because I don't know.
Was he involved in the making of it? Because sometimes I think when it's that similar,
I'm not sure.
They're sitting there.
But it was a really good adaptation, because I'm like, oh wow, the book is exactly the same almost. Like there's like a few little differences in like how it ends, but overall it's pretty much the same story. So I'd say it's a good adaptation if you want to watch it after you've read it.
Yeah, I love Stephen King. I do. I say that even when I read his bad books. Like because he definitely has bad books. Like I'm like, even his bad books have good parts.
Yeah. Yeah, I find his work really interesting because it can go so differently. Like sometimes his books are just like magical, and sometimes there's like elements of magic throughout, but doesn't quite translate. But
someone just asked about, so how do you get hold of the characters in Stand? This is funny that you asked that because I remember reading The Stand for the first time, and I had a hardback version. And that was one of the first times, 'cause, again, I read it like in my 20s or something, but that was one of the first times I did this weird annotation thing where I would use, because I didn't have flags or anything at that point. Are there flags? I don't know. When we were there, but like I used like a dotted system on the flyleaf where like I had to start writing like little notes about who was who, and I very rarely have to do that, but for that book I did. So I would literally just make like a mind map of people on the inner cover.
I think, one way. Again, I'd seen the what is it, a mini series in the 90s? I'd seen that first because that came out when I was like in high school, I think.
Yeah.
And I was excited about it because Molly Ringwald was in it, and the guy from Parker Lewis Can't Lose. So I was like, oh my God. So I had already watched it. So when I did read it, I could already picture everybody. So in an instance like that, I think it was helpful that I'd read it. I mean, I'd watched it before I read it so that I had like the visual, because that is a lot.
This is making me want to read The Stand again.
Yeah. We should do it for book club.
Yeah. The Stand was actually, I think Pet Sematary was my first book by him, but I think The Stand was one of like, it was like in a Stephen King era for me where I was like, I'm going to read like a bunch of his books. So.
Yeah, I think Carrie was my first. My mom.
I just picked up something from the thrift store by him. I can't remember the title now. He's written so many books. It's like, I have not seen this one. I want to say Harbor is in the name. Maybe not. There was a harbor on the cover. Some sort of boat thing. I was like, Stephen King, done.
Now I'm curious what it is because I'm like, I don't remember one with that.
Maybe it's not Harbor. I don't know. Now I have to find it. It's being hidden by my bed, so I can't see it. But it's over there. So I'm Googling Stephen King book with boat on front. Oh man, that brought it right up, I think. No, that's not it. Did not bring it right up.
I'd say if you are the kind of person who likes to have a visual like image in your head, then yes, watch it first, because especially for The Stand, there is a lot to keep track of. It is, I would say that's his magnum opus. I think The Stand is probably like up there with it as like the best two things he ever wrote. I think it is a little easier to follow because while there's a lot of characters, there's not that many characters. And
the main characters show up in every chapter for it. Like you have somebody. Yeah. And The Stand is like tangents where you're like, wait, what just happened?
There's so many characters, and you're in so many different people's heads, and there's just a lot. So yeah, I think it can be helpful. If you're finding it confusing, then watch it and then come back. There was a newer miniseries a few years ago that has what's his name? Eric Northman. I can't think of his real name.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's in it. And it was fine. Like I liked that. I don't think it was as good as I wanted it to be, but it was still pretty good. So if you want a more updated adaptation for that one wasn't bad.
Why is nobody helping me with the title of this book?
It was probably not the best adaptation, but I mean, it had Eric Northman in it, so I was willing to sit through it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big draw.
Yeah. It's definitely not as good as the one in the 90s, though. If you have to watch a miniseries and you don't mind something a little bit dated, the one in the 90s was pretty excellent. That's what I see in my head when I think about The Stand.
I just want to poke my head out now. But perfect. Have you seen the movie about Marie Curie with what is her name? I can't remember. The lady who's in Wheel of Time.
Oh, I don't think so. I know
It
who
was
you're
good.
talking about. Have I seen that? I don't think I've seen that. I remember hearing about it and thinking about watching it, and then we just never got to it.
Yeah, it was radioactive. I thought it could have been better, but it was still very interesting. So I thought she was a good choice to play her.
Mm. I think it's funny too that I'm reading Arrrgh of the Scythe with Regina right now. So hearing Scythe Curie and her being like named for her was super fun because I was like, hey, I'm reading about that right now.
Yeah.
I'm reading about the real Marie Curie. And Regina's like, whatever, I don't care.
That's a great thing to name your kid after. I don't know. That's also a great name overall. Scythe Curie. I read Godfather before I watched it, and that was one of I loved The Godfather, and watching that movie was extraordinary because it was like watching the book come to life. Like,
I've never seen
insane.
The Godfather.
You should read the book. The book is great. And
I don't even think I knew that it was a book. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, Mario Puzo, right? And then he was on set for the movie and everything, so he was very involved. But it was a surreal experience watching the movie because it was such a wonderful movie, but it also it tracked not just the story, but the light and the atmosphere of the book so closely. It was so weird. It was it felt really like an out of body experience to see a book so perfectly translated to the screen. It was very
wow.
I'll always remember seeing it the first time. So everyone was, on point for the characters in the book. It was very interesting. The Offer. I've not heard of it.
I don't think I've heard of that either. We were watching White Lotus season 2 and they were talking about The Godfather and I was like, I've never seen that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So The Offer is a show? Oh, that's cool. Already's experiences making The Godfather with Francis Ford Coppola. Cool.
Oh, that's
where
neat.
is it? Where does it play?
Stories like that where it's about the making of something that you've seen. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
I did not watch. I don't know if I have Paramount. Oh, okay. It's on Paramount. That's neat. Yeah, I distinctly remember reading The Godfather because I was in India. Because I used to go every summer and stay with my grandparents, and it was there's all these random books there, from all my adult uncles and aunts and stuff. And I picked it up and read it way too young. But
that's how you stumble on the best stuff, though.
Yeah. And you're like, what is happening? This is a real.
I've always found that elderly people have the most interesting book collections.
Yeah.
That's how I discovered Margaret George and historical fiction and digging into all of that. Like, yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I will say that most of the nonfiction books I encountered were in other people's houses when I was a kid, like where you read about random historical figures and then you find out that they're actually important later. Because they have no context for you when you're reading them too young.
You just find random things and you read it.
Yeah.
It's a book.
Then you're like, hey, I know all about this person in minute detail. So, Kite Runner was beautiful.
Yeah, I read that many years ago.
I haven't read anything else though. I didn't read the Thousand Splendid. Thousand Splendid Suns.
Yeah,
I haven't read that. Is it good?
I read that. That was pretty good. I think I liked that just a little bit better than Kite Runner.
Okay. Kite Runner was heartbreaking.
Yeah. 1,000 Splendid Suns is more about like marriage and being stuck in a bad marriage and that kind of thing and how to escape it. And it's very upsetting stuff in it. It was definitely one that made me cry a lot. But it's been 20 years since I read it though.
It's crazy to think that.
But I remember certain elements of that book in very vivid detail. But yeah. Also next, or I guess not next month, this month, we're supposed to be reading Beautyland. So I'm excited to read this because I've been on like a quest to read more things that are like about a being who isn't a human trying to understand humans, because it's like my new favorite thing. So I'm looking forward to reading that. I feel like it's going to be one that I really like.
Yeah, it's been on my list for a while, so sounds good.
Plus, it's purple, and I'm on a purple theme this month. I have like 3 different purple books in my TBR. And I was like, oh my God, how did this happen?
This is delightful. I'm reading House by the Cerulean Sea right now so that I can be ready for the next one.
Oh my
gosh. I love it. So.
It's so good.
It's so good.
I've been thinking about rereading it just because I feel like I need a really cozy, happy book.
Yeah.
I've been reading a lot of really dark or depressing things lately, and I'm like, okay, I need something that's going to cheer me up.
No, my kids caught like a little bit of it when I was listening to it in the car, and so my middle daughter keeps running around the house every once in a while. She's like, "I'm the harbinger of like pestilence and plague." Like she heard like the speech that he gives. So
yeah, I was thinking of reading it with Regina. I don't know if she'll like it. She doesn't like it anything if I like it first.
Okay, yeah, that tracks.
That's a pain. I'm like,
yeah. You should be like, this is mid.
I don't think you're gonna like it.
Exactly.
But you know.
Yeah. No, I really like it though. It's a good little. I don't know. It is exactly what I needed right now.
Yeah.
So. Oh, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That book is so amazing too.
Yeah. That's what I
needed. So long and thanks for all the fish. Yeah.
I've only read the first book and it's so good that I'm like, do I want to read the rest? What if the rest isn't as good? What if it messes up how much I love the original?
I read the whole series when I was younger. The rest of it I don't think is as good, but it's still.
Yeah.
That book is sort of delightful for the surprise that the first book is, because it's so weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I should read that to one of the kids.
Hitchhiker's Guide is a really fun read.
Yeah.
My kids have all liked that one, except for Sarah. Sarah's not big on sci-fi, so she didn't really care, but everybody else liked it.
Yeah. It's so interesting how genres can really like block people out. I have that too. I'm not a huge sci-fi person, but Hitchhiker's Guide was so funny.
I'm very specific with sci-fi. Like I can't just read science fiction. It needs to be like cozy science fiction. It needs to be like character focused more than like we're on this mission. Yeah. I don't know.
Have you read Ender's Game?
I have read Ender's Game, and it was
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I just couldn't quite get into it as much as I'd hoped. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked Ender's Game more than I thought I would.
It
But I
was
didn't read the
interesting
rest
enough
of
that
them.
I passed it on to my kids, and I was like, maybe you would like this. And my twins liked it more than I did, I think. But
I was surprised that I liked it. That was another book where it was like, I have nothing else to read in this house wherever I'm stuck. So I read Ender's Game. But no. Yeah, sci-fi, I would say on my shelves is definitely the smallest category. Which it is what it is.
I like things like Project Hail Mary and what is it? Becky Chambers. Her stuff is really good. That kind of sci-fi. Becky Chambers wrote Long Way to a Small Angry Planet.
Okay, I haven't read any of those.
Oh, those are good. If you've ever seen Firefly, it feels kind of like that in book form, where it's like about the crew of the ship, and it's more to do with like their relationships with each other than the actual like mission.
This just happens to be like in space.
Yeah. And like they're all different like species of alien, and there's like 2 humans and a bunch of aliens on the crew, and it's I don't know, I found it really interesting.
30% of what you own, that's pretty incredible. I mean, all these books are looking at me accusingly at the moment. I have no idea where I am, but if I have read 30% of what I own, I am proud of myself. That might be actually accurate.
I don't even want to know. Like I do keep track of my library. I have an app, and I can like mark what I've read, and like just my personal, like these are books that I bought just for me, not like homeschool stuff, not any of that. I have, hold on. I'm looking at my thing. I just messed it up. Wait, where did it go?
Okay.
So I have 1,254 books, and I've read 410 of them.
So that's not bad. That's not bad.
So I'm okay. I feel like I'm making a dent. But there's no way I'll ever read everything.
Yeah, and that's not even counting all your homeschool books. So that's
oh my God,
a fraction of what you own.
Like, I'm not counting middle grade and like anything I've bought for the kids or any of that, or for work. Like,
yeah, my personal library is much smaller than the kids' library, especially if you include like,
I would say the majority of the books in my house are things I bought for homeschooling. So
me too, for sure. My shelf, everybody has these books, and some people, I find it so fascinating what people buy when they buy books. Like some people only buy books that are practical, like books about cooking or books about gardening or books about like how to be in this world, like in a real way. And that is my smallest set of books by far. It's like I have like
I heard
for dummies.
That.
Like that's like, and then I have like one like prepper book that I bought from a sale because I was like, this might be useful to have one day because I don't know how to do anything.
Yeah, I think we have a book about canning. I'm like, I will never use this. I am terrified of the thought of canning my own food. I will definitely give us all botulism.
Exactly. Like we're gonna have to come up with a different way of eating with canning. I'm not afraid of like doing it wrong. I'm afraid of like dying in the process or like having something explode.
Oh my God, I could never. Every time I've thought about it, I'm like, nope, can't. Too dangerous.
Yeah, a book on how to read a book. Yeah,
I own like at least 2 books that are specifically about how to read a book.
Do you have the professor one, like how to read?
Yeah,
like a professor?
I have that, and I have the children's version of it. I also have a different one that I didn't like as much. I forget what it's called now. I think it might just be called How to Read a Book, but didn't enjoy it.
Very to the point. No, I'm looking at my shelf. My shelf on how to do things is just like one little shelf here. That's it. That's like, and it's very weird in its range of topics.
I don't think I have hardly anything for that. Like,
there was a friend.
Self-help kind of books that I bought years and years ago and then never read. I think I own a book on how to clean your house. I've never read it.
I have Marie Kondo's book.
Yeah. Oh, I have Marie Kondo's book too. I did read that.
And I read that too, but it does not help me.
And it
I
did not
think
help.
that I think I've seen this meme going around. I think I shared it where like the most helpful thing that you can tell somebody with like ADHD or neurospicy brain about decluttering is like, if this had poop on it, would you keep it? Would you clean it off or not? And I was
I
like, this
told
is
that to my
much
husband.
better.
I was like, if
Yeah.
it got poop on it, would you keep it or toss it? And he's like, what?
I was like, this is such a better question for me than does it spark joy?
Yes.
I'm like, of course it
Like,
sparks joy.
yeah,
Why else is it in my
I
house?
know. I'm like, everything sparks joy. That's why I have it.
Like, I love this scarf that I haven't worn in 20 years.
Yeah.
But if it had poop on it, would I clean it? I don't know.
No.
I think that's a much, much better
To be
question.
fair, I would throw away almost anything that had poop on it because I don't want to touch or clean it.
Right? But think about how decluttered you would become in like an afternoon. Like
Oh
if
my
you
God.
really stuck to just that question. So no, there's so many things. The kids will like destroy it to a certain extent. I'm like, we're tossing that now. And they're like, why? We can do blah blah blah. I was like, I don't know how much time you think I have for mending, but it's a limited amount of time. It's not for like this particular article of clothing. So book on how to read a book. Self-help sucks. Yeah.
It does. Like I've never been able to get into reading a whole self-help book all the way through. I always get bored like a quarter of the way in, like, whatever, I don't need this.
I'm in a productivity book club also because a couple of my friends asked me to read productivity books. I was like, sure, that seems helpful to me. I'm not particularly productive. And some of them are horrible and like the same, like this regurgitation of the same kind of
Yeah,
like
I think they're
thing.
redundant in a way. Like there's only so much you can say on the topic.
But if you hate those books, one book that I actually loved was what is it called? Time Management for Mortals. So I read that last year and I loved it. It's basically like, this is a pointless endeavor. Like, that's the premise of the book. And I was like, are you serious?
That's good to know.
Yeah, like, are you going to keep going with this? Or is this just chapter 1 where it's like, you're like trying to like get me on board? No, he's like, literally like all of your problems stem from trying to manage your time. Like, it's just like, you just have to understand who you are and understand how much time is in a day. And those two things are not going to change no matter how much you might wish them to.
You know, that's like really useful to hear though, because that is a thing. Like my ADHD brain cannot, I don't understand how people get so much done.
I liked it so much. Like I was like, this is my favorite productivity book ever because it is helpful. It's like, you know, you should just really be honest and like stop trying to make charts and graphs that you are never going to follow.
Oh my God. I went through a phase in my 20s where I was obsessed with the idea that if I could just get up early and make this perfect chart. I don't know if you remember back in the day in homeschool circles that managers of their homes was huge. And I could not for the life of me understand why it did not work. I was like, am I broken? Like, why can I not do this? I dedicated like probably 3 years to trying to figure out how to make that work. And I just threw the whole thing out. I was like, this is stupid.
Every single time I've tried to make a time chart for things, I was like, oh no, there's people involved. Like,
oh my God. Yeah. Like
there's 4 personalities.
I don't understand how anybody made that work. Like when you have like, and back then I had no idea that any of us were neurodivergent at all. So like, that explains a lot.
That was the best part of being like, you know, when I thought, you know, like my eldest is neurodivergent, I was like learning all this and I was like, wait a second. I was like, I might be exactly this thing.
Like, wait, okay, that makes so much more sense now. We're not broken.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So yeah, Time Management for Mortals. If you hate time management books and productivity books, which have taught you nothing beyond 2 weeks where you pretended to be someone else, it was a good book. It really was. He just came out with something else. I haven't read it, but I enjoyed his book. And I also thought Essentialism was a very good read. But I can summarize it for you here, which is basically learn how to say no to things. I think the main takeaway from Essentialism was, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. Feel in your gut. If you're like, I don't want to go to dinner with you, be like, no, I'm busy, and move on with your life.
Yeah. That's something that I learned like a couple of years ago. Just like, you don't have to do everything. It is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like I had so much peace during the pandemic, weirdly, because
Yeah.
there was nothing. Like I didn't have to, I had no commitments to my time besides what I was already doing. And it was like, huh.
Yeah.
That's nice. Like
exactly. Yeah. I think coming out of the pandemic has been traumatic for introverted people in that way. Like it was like, oh no.
Yeah, I prefer to stay by myself in my house and not go anywhere. Like, yeah. That's what I was telling my husband. We're going to a homeschool conference next weekend, and I haven't done a conference as a vendor since before the pandemic. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I remember how to be around people and like be social. Like, what do you mean? I have to talk to people face to face randomly. It's hard. Like, I think
I remember meeting you.
How.
That was the only time I've ever seen you in person, was at a conference.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I was very excited. I
used to really like doing them, and it was fun. And now I'm just like, I forgot how to be a person and like be social. I don't know how to do it. I think I was better at masking back then, and like I've forgotten how. So I live in a house with a bunch of neurodivergent people, and we are all just like doing our thing. So,
yeah, I think that's good some ways though. I think like the more you can find your own weird people, then you don't have to be anything else. Like, you know, like whatever, just show up. And then I think the people who like you are just gonna like you anyway. You know,
like I'm so weird in person.
Me too. I'm always like, why? Like every time I meet someone, like, and I walk away, I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, why did your mouth open and have those words come out? Like, what is happening?
Anytime I let myself just talk, like we went to a book signing and I met Paul Tremblay and I was so excited.
Yeah.
And I just like started babbling at him and I still don't really know what I said.
But you're like, you might have gone on too long.
I was just so happy. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I walked away and I was like, I don't know what I just said, but I hope I didn't like make him uncomfortable.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I do that. That's fine. It's fine. It's okay. We're all just Bilbo Baggins. Yeah. Yeah. Never related to something so hard as Hobbit.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
I am very much a Bilbo Baggins. I love the idea of an adventure, but actually, no, thank you. I'd much rather be home.
I want to hear about the adventure.
Yes, tell me all about it. I would love to like watch your little video clips of your adventure.
Exactly. I will provide tea and snacks.
Yes.
No. Yeah, I told Rick, I was like, the whole thing we were talking about, like, I don't want to fight in a shed over beans with anybody. Like, if this all goes south, like, just let me go quietly into that good night because I can't. It's not my jam. No. She only picked up the stand because of your video, which is like 7 years old.
Oh my gosh. You know, I always think it's funny that like the most popular video on my channel is my favorite Stephen King books that I made that video. That was like one of the first videos I ever made.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. And I've almost gotten rid of it. I've almost privated it so many times because I'm like, ugh, it's so cringe.
I haven't privated any of my videos. I'm like, I don't care. So. Oh man, yeah. Those first videos, looking back, is
those
insane.
are bad.
Yeah.
But it was like views that I've left it.
Yeah.
But I'm baffled. I'm like, why do people keep watching this video? I have better videos.
One of my most popular videos is so odd. It's like a random video I made about decluttering my kitchen. Oh, it's like my second or third most popular video.
People love watching other people clean.
It's pointless though. I was like, no one's gonna watch this. I'm just like, I have to do this, so I might as well set up my camera and like do this. And I'm like, I don't need these chargers, so I'm going to donate them. I mean, there's nothing of value in this video. Like, what are people watching? But fine. Like, it gets regular views. It's like the only thing that makes money on my channel. But anyway, it's fine. What do I know? If I say meaningful things, nobody watches.
Stephen King content gets all the views every time. If you post anything to do with Stephen King, you're going to get all the views. And I'm like, I give you, he's a great writer and I do love his work, but like other people write good books too.
Nobody wants to know about those people.
Nobody cares. Yeah.
Nobody cares. Yeah. I think people also are afraid to say anything about Stephen King that's like, I don't know. He has this real mystique about him, right? Like about like his body of work, and it is incredible. There's so much to talk
like
about.
a real person. Like he's
Yeah.
like everybody's dad. Like
Yeah.
he's relatable and like I don't know. I'm always scared he's gonna do something or someone will unearth something about him, and I'm like, please never do this. We don't need to dig in. Just leave it alone.
I mean, the most controversy is probably about it, right? And about like, you know, the scenes in it. But, you know, you have to read the whole book. I feel like the people who are the most upset about that are people who've only heard about that and haven't read the whole book.
Exactly. Like, yeah. I feel like within the context of the book, I still don't love it.
Yeah.
But it fits.
But he definitely doesn't act like it's great.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of trauma in that book about all of it. So, I don't know. But, yeah, the whole Neil Gaiman thing is a bummer.
Oh, my God. Such a bummer.
It really is.
Like,
I just read Autumn the Frost Giants for the first time with my middle. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I was like, I already own this book. Like, going to be read. But
like, I have a love-hate relationship with his books already because sometimes I love his like children's books, but I have a hard time sometimes getting into his adult books.
Yeah.
But I did like American Gods. That's probably one of the only adult books of his that I've read and really liked. I'm
in the middle of The Sandman. I was listening to the audio like theatrical production.
I started that and could not get into it. I don't know if there was too many different voices, if it was the music. I don't know. Something about it was bothering me. So I stopped.
Yeah. I've been in it for like 2 years now.
Is it worth it to go back to it now? No. I don't think I can now, but yeah.
I don't know. I was going to listen to it with my eldest, but even he was like, I don't know. It's okay. I was like, okay. At that point. So I'm excited about Beautyland. When are we talking about it?
Yeah, I was looking at the calendar and I am out of town the first Saturday, so I can't do the 3rd. So we would have to either do it on the 10th of May or on the 26th of April. I'm leaning towards the 10th of May just because that gives us more time to get to the book.
That would be better too, yeah. I have a fencing tournament that day. I think I have a fencing tournament that May weekend too, which is annoying, but I think I should be back on Saturday too. Okay. Is there, Mother's Day is the next day.
Yeah.
No, I think it should work.
So 10th of May works for you? Okay. All right, then that will be our date to meet for Beautyland.
At 1 p.m. Eastern time, you guys.
Yep. Okay, so we will see you to discuss Beautyland on May 10th, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I am looking forward to it. I feel like this is going to be one that I really like.
Yeah.
Like, I built it up in my head, though, so I'm hoping I didn't, like, mess that up for myself. I keep going, this is going to be a 5-star. I should not do that.
I think it'll be good.
Yeah.
I have a good feeling.
Okay, so we will see you guys next month to discuss Beautyland, and I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much for coming today. I think we had a good discussion. We did get really off topic, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We're like a real book club. Books.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
So thank you for coming, and we'll see you next month. Happy reading. Bye.
Bye.